Hi, I'm Stephanie Hathcock at Oklahoma State University, and my co-presenter is Kelly Feille from University of Oklahoma. And we're going to talk to you today about nature journaling as 3D support for online teaching and learning.
Science education reform in the U.S. calls on elementary teachers who are generalists by nature to engage their learners in authentic science learning experiences through science and engineering practices across scientific disciplines. In the time of COVID-19, educators are deeply concerned with how they may safely engage their students in constructivist work during in-person schooling, or they are grappling with shifting their teaching to an online format, or sometimes both. For students to engage as scientists, they require relevant science and engineering problems that exist in real-world contexts. Outdoor settings in the schoolyard and surrounding students' homes provide the opportunity for frequent and repeated access to both natural and human-made environments, where students can then participate in active inquiry of scientific phenomena. Meaning making is considered to be learning in action, which is the process learners go through as they assimilate new knowledge into their schema. Nature journaling has the potential to bridge three-dimensional, standards-based instruction with natural phenomena in students' place of the schoolyard. The pedagogy of utilizing outdoor areas for instruction includes engaging activities that use the environment to promote learning with academically engaged students. Drawing is a form of meaning making focused on the process involving close observation and analytical thinking and creativity. Drawing has historically been misinterpreted as a professional skill instead of a personal capacity, which has led to it not being used as a tool for learning. There is a multitude of research on students' learning with visual representations, such as those encountered in textbooks, but a scarcity of research on learning that takes place when students generate their own representations to think about, construct knowledge, and communicate. Nature journaling can serve as a bridge toward meaning making in the schoolyard by incorporating the science and arts practices. Nature journaling involves observing and interacting with the natural world through pictures, words, and numbers. As people journal, they engage in the meaning-making process through place-based learning. This presentation describes our findings from shifting from in-person, schoolyard-based pedagogy to incorporating nature journaling practices in an online educational environment.
So in previous years, Kelly and I when we were completely face-to-face for instruction, nature journaling had been a smaller focus of our methods class. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that looked like then. We had already been working for a few years to develop schoolyard pedagogy within our methods course. And a piece of that involves intense pedagogical experience, which are moments during a teacher's education where the possibilities of teaching outdoors are recognized. These experiences involve influencing teachers' dispositions toward nature, learning, and teaching outdoors, encouraging a vision of students as engaged with the environment, and developing an understanding of needs for students for outdoor learning. As part of that, we took students outside our respective buildings for a series of lessons involving nature journaling on our campus. As part of the intense pedagogical experiences, we showcased how nature journaling can be part of 5E lesson planning. An example of this is written up in our recent Innovations in Science Teacher Education article. In it, we combine poetry and nature journaling to focus on the structure and function of plants. In addition, we also asked students to map their schoolyard where they were placed so that they could identify and then consider how they could use their local place to nature journal.
When our courses were forced online in the spring of 2020, we shifted to include intentional nature journaling experiences with our students using online course assignments. Our pre-service teachers were assigned nature journaling tasks inspired by lessons included in How to Teach Nature Journaling, shown here. Students complete a nature journaling assignment and then are asked to reflect on their experiences and the use of the learning tools in their future classroom settings. Here are some examples of those tasks. The first example is the timeline. Here, students are asked to explore plant development by observing the same plant at different points throughout stages of growth and even decomposition. It engages several different science and engineering practices, several cross-cutting concepts, and focuses on life science disciplinary core ideas. A second example includes curiosity chains and intentional observation practices such as I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Here, students practice their observational skills and relating natural phenomena to existing scientific understandings through asking scientific questions and engaging in cross-cutting concepts. You can see you can apply this practice to a multitude of disciplinary core ideas. A favorite of our students is the soundscape maps. Here they are asked to graphically represent the sounds they hear that are both natural and human-made. They are able to consider frequency and amplitude of sounds in addition to locating the sound source spatially. In this online coursework, we've had to rely heavily on tools such as Flipgrid and course management software, in addition to our students' own personal devices such as iPads, iPhones, Samsung phones, and their personal computers. Our students then engage with each other and the broader community through social media pages like Instagram. This QR code will link you to an Instagram page showcasing several of our students' work. Some examples of that work that they share by scanning the images and submitting them for grading and assessment are shown here. They've constructed event comics, field guides, timelines, and infographics. And you can see in these examples where students have included drawings, words, as well as numbers to describe their observations. To create the opportunities for our students to share their work in community, we ask them to create some Flipgrid videos where they describe what they've done, and also engage in small group online discussion posts where they respond to specific prompts about their nature journal entry and how they would use the practice in their own classroom. Here, a student describes her first nature journaling entry.
Irises grow next to each other, and these irises were found under my trees. Next, I have the tulips. The petals are pink and they darken towards the center of the petal. The petals are tight together and don't flop around, and a tulip is hollow and cup-like. The stem is long, dark green, and has floppy, thick leaves. These tulips grow further from each other than the irises, and I found them next to my back porch. I think the colors of the flowers are bright because it helps them attract bugs and birds. I think the iris has darker petals because it doesn't get as much sunlight. They grow under a big tree in my backyard. The tulips are lighter because of the amount of sun they get. The sunlight doesn't affect color necessarily, but it can affect the variation of the color, like whether it's dark pink or light pink.
To understand the ways in which nature journaling impacted our students and their perceptions of teaching, we analyzed student reflections in which they described their most meaningful experiences within our science methods courses. As we analyzed these reflections, we found that many students included nature journaling as one of those most impactful experiences. These are some of the themes that emerged from their reflections. Students talked about shifts in their perceptions of science based on their journaling experiences. For example, the student says, I always thought of science as being a cold subject of formulas and rubrics that had to be met to a T, but nature journaling gave me a sense of freedom to create things to my own taste. Another theme was student interest. Our pre-service teachers also considered how they could capitalize on journaling to promote student interest in their own classrooms, as well as creativity. So for example, the student says, my students will record their thoughts, observations, models, and notes in a scientific/nature journal. I have found this to be invaluable for understanding how students learn. Journaling offers a centralized location to track and revise ideas, assess students' learning, and express creativity. Pre-service teachers also found nature journaling to serve as a bridge between fun activities and meaningful science learning. So for example, during class, when we began nature journaling, I thought back to when I was 5 years old. I would have loved these activities if we did them in elementary school. In early elementary school, we had a lot of fun activities that did not hold much learning value. And then a second student says, allowing students to come up with questions and challenge them to find the answer is what science is all about. And the tools of nature journaling and wonder journaling allow students to do this in the classroom. Students also reflected on affective outcomes that included feelings about nature, and they led to some of our students to consider how important the outdoors is for people in general, particularly during stressful times. So one student said, as a learner and a person in general, this really helped me to get outside and really focus on nature and enjoy being outside. This made me put away my phone and focus on my senses. And a second student said, as a student on the learner end of the unit, I was able to relax and re-engage with the world around me. So overall, we've found that nature journaling has been an excellent tool for learning. It supports authentic 3D science instruction. It serves as a tool to facilitate schoolyard pedagogy. It's been accessible for students in online learning environments. It engages students in meaning making using real-world scientific phenomena. And finally, it promotes creativity and cross-curricular connections. Thank you for watching our video, and this is the link again so that you can actually go to our Instagram page and check out student work.